Kimihito Kurusu, a mild-mannered young man's life, is turned upside down when he's forced into Japan's interspecies exchange program, becoming the host for Miya, a seductive lamia. Soon, other monster girls, each with their own unique personalities and quirks, move into his home, all competing for his affection. However, human-monster relationships are strictly regulated by law, and romance is forbidden unless married under special provisions. With a growing harem of monster girls and constant chaos, Kimihito must navigate a world of comedic mishaps, romantic tension, and strict rules in this steamy adventure. Kimihito woke up early and found Miya on top of him. When he started feeling less disoriented, he realized Miya is actually sleeping on his bed and got up to push her away, but Miya instead wrapped her lower tail, which is a snake, and held him tight. Kimihito, being suffocated, tried to free himself, but didn't succeed. Finally, he started rubbing her tail, which made her lose her grip. Using this opportunity, Kimihito got up only to be pulled back, but she let him free after some time. We then see Kimihito in the bathroom getting ready to take a bath. After preparing the bath, he started using the toilet. Suddenly, Miya got in and thanked him for preparing the bath for her and got inside. Kimihito decided to leave, but Miya pulled him into the tub and hugged him from behind. Kimihito hesitated because there is a strict rule about humans and monsters' relationships, but Miya brushed it off and kept hugging him. Kimihito turned the cold water on so that Miya would get frustrated by her body temperature lowering and let him go. As he expected, Miya let him go, complaining about the cold water. While preparing breakfast, Kimihito listens to a news report about a newly passed law allowing humans to interact with non-human species. Creatures like Miya have gradually integrated into human society with minimal issues. Turning off the television, he recalls the chaotic events of his morning. His thoughts are interrupted when his coordinator, Mrs. Smith, suddenly arrives to check that Kimihito hasn't violated any rules. She reminds him that harming or engaging in romantic relations with a non-human is strictly forbidden. Ms. Smith starts tempting him to admit that he indeed had an encounter with Miya, but Kimihito assures her that he's followed the rules. Mrs. Smith got close to Kimihito, and suddenly Miya appeared, wrapping him in her tail and pulling him towards her. She then demands that Ms. Smith leaves. After Ms. Smith leaves, Miya immediately questions Kimihito, asking if it's really so crucial to avoid the forbidden activities under the law. She confesses her fear that, like many humans, he might find her body repulsive at first sight. Despite this, she admits she's deeply in love with him and wouldn't care if he hurt her. In a bold move, she tightens her tail around him, inviting intimacy. Kimihito struggles to break free, but her grip is far too strong. In fact, it becomes so intense that his shoulder gets dislocated, forcing Mrs. Smith returned and fixed it. A while later, Kimihito and Miya head out for a date. Before leaving, Mrs. Smith reminds Kimihito to stay close to Miichio and warns him not to take her to any hotel. As their date begins, they explore various shops together. Toward the end, Miya drags Kimihito into a lingerie store, much to his discomfort. He refuses at first, but she insists he stays, awkward and unsure how lingerie would even work for her snake. Like body, Kimihito tries to leave. Miya pulls him into the changing room, asking him to choose a bra for her. In his hasty exit, Kimihito accidentally grabs her panties, sparking her playful outrage as she snatches them back, calling him a pervert. After leaving the shop, they head home, but a couple starts harassing Miya for calling Kimihito darling. Furious, Miya lashes out with her tail, but Kimihito steps in and takes the blow himself. Shocked, Miya apologizes as Kimihito reminds her that violence between humans and non-humans is against the law. Onlookers gather, snapping photos, making Miya uncomfortable. She pleads with Kimihito to take her somewhere private. Despite Smith's warning, Kimihito takes her to a nearby hotel. Once there, Miya asks if he's afraid of breaking the law by getting intimate with her, insisting she doesn't mind if he hurts her or gets close. As she lies naked on the bed, Kimihito is unsure how to respond. Just then, Mrs. Smith barges in and promptly arrests both of them. As Kimihito and Miya leave the hotel, they encounter the same couple that had mocked Miya earlier. This time, the harassment pushes Kimihito over the edge, and in a moment of anger, he punches the man, leaving him with a bleeding nose. When they return home, Mrs. Smith reassures Kimihito that he won't face any legal trouble for his actions. After Mrs. Smith leaves, Miya asks Kimihito why he stood up for her like that. He calmly explains that he couldn't stand by and let anyone harass a girl in his presence. Touched by his words, Miya becomes emotional and leaps onto him, once again attempting to seduce him. Before things can escalate, Mrs. Smith suddenly reappears, asking what's for dinner. Despite not being invited, she insists on staying and joining them for the meal. The following morning, Miya is filled with gratitude, constantly thanking Kimihito for standing up for her. Out of nowhere, another non-human, a bird-like girl named Poppy, swoops in. With the lower body of an eagle and the upper body of a young woman, she quickly grabs Kimihito and takes off with him. When Kimihito wakes up, he finds himself in a tree. Confused, he asks Poppy where they are, and she introduces herself, explaining that since her caretaker isn't around, she has decided that Kimihito will be her new one. She then takes him to an ice cream stall, and as they sit on a bench eating, Poppy tells him that she has run away from her coordinator several times and has been warned that she'll be deported if it happens again. When Kimihito reminds her she could be sent away, Popeye drops her ice cream in shock. Seeing her disappointment, Kimihito offers to share his, and she eagerly eats it from his hand, getting ice cream all over her face. Poppy suddenly starts bathing in public. Before he can stop her, she pulls him into the water with her. Miicha soon arrives, and the two girls immediately begin arguing over Kimihito. In the middle of their fight, Kimihito notices a crowd gathered around a little girl stuck in a tree crying. Both Maya and Poppy see this as their chance to impress Kimihito and rush to rescue her. Popeye tries to fly but fails, since her wings are wet, while Mia climbs the tree but accidentally scares the girl, causing her to fall. Poppy manages to catch her midair, but the added weight makes them plummet toward the ground. Kimihito jumps in and breaks their fall just in time. A police officer arrives and asks Kimihito if he is responsible for both Miaya and Poppy. Kimihito confirms it, but the officer demands custody papers. Fortunately, Mrs. Smith shows up with the documents just in time. On the way home, Kimihito asks how Smith managed to arrive so quickly with the papers. She explains that Pap has run away so many times that she had them ready and was prepared to transfer her to Kimihito's care to prevent further escapes. Poppy eagerly drags Kimihito to the bathroom, asking him to help her clean up. Meanwhile, Smith asks Mia if she's comfortable with Poppy living with them. Mia admits she's not jealous because she thinks Poppy is a minor, but Smith informs her that despite Poppy's small size, she's actually the same age as Maya. Furious, Mia storms into the bathroom to pull Poppy away from Kimihito. The next day, Kimihito goes grocery shopping. On his way back, he encounters a tall centaur-like girl named Centauria, who insists that he must become her master. He called Synth, but she is off duty, and she asks Kimihito to take care of Centauria. While they're talking, a thief suddenly snatches a woman's purse. Centauria draws her sword and gives chase. However, since she can't use her weapon against a human, Kimihito has to join her. He jumps on her back, and she charges after the thief. As they speed up, Kimihito holds on tightly, but in the process, accidentally grabs her inappropriately, causing her to lose control. Her shirt tears off, and her sword falls to the ground. The thief, distracted by Centauria's exposed appearance in his bike mirror, crashes his motorcycle. Kimihito and Centauria tumble into a shop's entrance. Before they can recover, the thief reappears and grabs Centauria's sword, attempting to attack. Kimihito bravely steps in, taking the hit for her. Later, Centauria brings him home, and Smith reveals that the sword was a fake. She also explains that riding a centaur without being their legal master is considered sei. Horrified, Kimihito apologizes, but Centauria forgives him, asking him to call her Saria, and declaring that she's finally chosen him as her master. Just as they're sorting things out, Mia and Poppy appear, upset that Kimihito has brought yet another girl into the house. The next day, tensions rise as the three girls start fighting over Kimihito, each determined to claim his attention and affection. Kimihito accidentally walked in on Saria while she was in the shower. Miaya quickly jumped in, and the two girls began arguing. At the same time, Poppy wanted to take a bath, and while Kimihito was helping her, she started trying to seduce him. Though Kimihito resisted, Poppy persisted, making things awkward. Saria stormed in and attacked Popeye, dragging Kimihito out of the house afterward. Outside, Saria assured Kimihito that she would always be his loyal knight, protecting him no matter what. Kimihito told her to enjoy life more. Saria, blushing, asked him to hold her hand, curious about how it would feel. When he did, her face turned bright red, and she quickly told him not to look at her. Just then, Mia and Poppy arrived, and the three girls immediately started bickering again, each claiming Kimihito as my man. The commotion caught the attention of Miss Smith, who tried to stop the fight by shooting tranquilizer darts at the girls. Unfortunately, Kimihito was the one hit by all three darts, and he promptly passed out. When Kimihito woke up back at home, he found Smith by his side, while Mia, Popeye, and Saria hid behind the door, looking guilty. They each apologized for their behavior and promised to behave better in the future. However, Kimihito told them not to hold back. He said that they were like a family, and he had already forgiven them. Hearing this, Smith informed him that a new law had been passed allowing humans to marry non-human species. On top of that, Kimihito was required to choose one of the 3 girls as his future wife, but he could take his time making that decision. Devastated by the news, Kimihito watched as Smith left. Later that night, Miya tried to seduce Kimihito again, but before things could go further, Poppy crashed through the window and piled on top of him as well. As if things couldn't get worse, Saria entered, and Kimihito quickly explained that the girls were acting strange. Saria told him that it was the full moon combined with the marriage talk that had them acting so out of control. The girls resumed their fight over him, and a desperate Kimihito called Smith for advice. She admitted that she had forgotten to warn him about the effects of the full moon on non-humans. She advised him to make a final decision soon, as that would stop the girls from fighting. However, in the middle of their conversation, Smith dropped her phone into the bath, cutting off the call. At that moment, the girls accidentally pushed Kimihito, causing him to fall. A bottle of ketchup burst open, and the girls, thinking it was blood, panicked. Kimihito quickly reassured them it was just ketchup. By morning, Kimihito, now covered in bandages from the previous night's chaos, gathered the girls and told them that, starting today, he would date each of them as potential marriage partners. After delivering the news, he promptly collapsed from his injuries, leaving the girls shocked. As Kimihito prepares dinner for everyone, he calls the girls to the table. When Miya opens the pot, she is suddenly attacked by a slime, letting out a scream before falling ill. Concerned, Kimihito wonders what it was, and Saria explains that it must have been a slime. She promises to protect him if another one appears. Another slime suddenly attacks Kimihito, and though Saria tries to protect him, she doesn't know how to handle slimes. They both end up covered in goo after struggling with the creature. Kimihito heads to the bath to clean up, but Saria knocks and enters without clothes, asking for help with her own cleanup. Flustered, Kimihito reluctantly agrees. While soaking in the tub, they realize slimes might be attracted to water and soon spot one on the ceiling. Before they can act, Saria slips and knocks herself out, and the slime, another girl, drops down and seduces Kimihito. Kimihito quickly understands that the slimy girl isn't dangerous, but is trying to mimic the actions she's observed, including the romantic gestures. However, her grip becomes too tight, nearly suffocating him. Desperate, Kimihito dives into the bathtub, managing to free himself and allowing the slime girl to dissolve temporarily into the water. After some time, Kimihito helps her reform. He later explains to the other girls that the slime had taken a human form, leaving them amazed. Puppy, excited, quickly befriends the slime girl and names her Sue. As Poppy and Sue play together, Miya and Saria suggest that Kimihito contact Ms. Smith to report Sue's presence, fearing she might be an undocumented non-human. Saria warns that Kimihito could get into trouble if he keeps Sue without proper paperwork. While they discuss this, Poppy flies off with Sue, causing Kimihito to panic and chase after them. Eventually, he reaches a river where he spots Poppy still in the air, with Sue clinging to her feet. Sue becomes visibly anxious as they near the water, and suddenly falls onto Kimihito, who catches her. Poppy rushes over to check on her, and Kimihito realizes that Sue had melted in the bathtub earlier, and likely feared the same would happen if she touched the river, which is why she was struggling. As they recover, local kids ask Popeye to play with water guns. Popeye eagerly joins, and Sue grows larger by absorbing water. Suddenly, the couple who harassed Maya earlier drives recklessly, losing control when a child runs in front of them. Sue heroically throws herself in front of the car, saving the child but getting stuck in the wall. The wall collapses, and Sue falls into the river. Though Poppy tries to save her, Sue slips away, and Poppy fears she's gone. Kimihito quickly drives into the river and rescues Sue, and Poppy joyfully hugs her. On the way home, Kimihito tells Miya and Saria they don't need to report Sue, as she simply lacks common sense. He suggests they teach her themselves, and the girls agree to keep her a secret from Smith. However, when Kimihito enters the house, he is shocked to find that Smith is already there, and she has seen Sue with him, leaving Kimihito speechless. Kimihito and the girls brace themselves, preparing for a confrontation with the government after discovering Sue's unauthorized stay in their home. Kimihito is caught off guard by the girl's sudden change of heart to help Sue. As they converse, a group of workers enters Kimihito's house, tearing down walls. However, they're not there to arrest anyone or destroy the house, but rather to build something. Panicking, the girls assume government officials are coming for them, so they grab Sue and flee. When Sue starts feeling dry, she begins licking the sweat off Pepe, and they realize that Sue will try to hydrate herself by licking anyone who is wet. Meanwhile, Kimihito runs through the city, desperately searching for the girls. During his search, he accidentally bumps into a woman in a wheelchair, injuring his head. The woman introduces herself as Miro and, after a brief chat, tells him she saw the girls he's looking for. In a nearby forest, Saria accidentally breaks a water tap, soaking herself. Sue, drawn to the water, merges with Saria's lower body to absorb the moisture. Kimihito finally locates the girls and Sue, but in a chaotic turn of events, Sue dehydrates Mia and the others within moments. When Kimihito and Miro arrive, Sue attacks Miro as well. However, Kimihito manages to trap Sue in a plastic bag to contain her. Upon returning home, they are surprised to learn that the room under construction wasn't for Sue, it was for Miro, a newly admitted non-human, fish-like species. Smith introduces her as the latest member of Kimihito's household, revealing that Miro is a mermaid. Mia, feeling threatened, becomes extremely jealous of Miro, seeing her as a romantic rival. In a fit of jealousy, she breaks Miro's wheelchair, forcing Kimihito to carry Miro to her room. This action triggers a frenzy among the other girls, believing that Kimihito is being affectionate toward Miro. Kimihito explains that until a new wheelchair arrives, he has no choice but to carry her. As he lifts Miro, her blouse slips off due to the natural mucus her mermaid body produces. Miia screams in jealousy, but Miro calmly explains that this happens frequently because of her body's nature. Kimihito eventually takes Miro to her room, but Miia, still jealous, tries various tricks to divert his attention. She covers herself in slime, hoping to lure Kimihito into bathing with her, then lowers the temperature in Miro's room to make her catch a cold. However, her plans fail. Kimihito doesn't bathe with her, and Miro's body easily withstands the cold. Mia rallies the other girls to join forces and stop any potential romance between Kimihito and Miro. However, when Maya sees Poppy playing with Miro, she becomes furious, believing Poppy has switched sides. Later, Miro confesses to the girls that she admires Kimihito, but her affection is not romantic. She shares a sad tale about a mermaid who loved a human but couldn't be with him, a story well known among mermaids. Though Mia and Saria initially oppose her, Miro praises Saria's loyalty to Kimihito, causing Saria to momentarily drift into her thoughts. Miia snaps her out of it, and soon after, Kimihito arrives. Miro explains to him that she can only breathe if her gills remain moist, so he carries her back to her room. Miia confides in Saria, telling her how it hurts to see Miro being carried by Kimihito, a dream she's always had for herself. Saria suggests Miro should seduce Kimihito by wearing a swimsuit. In response, Mia dons a swimsuit and heads to the pool, where she sees Kimihito sitting beside Miro. She tries to entice him into swimming with her, but Saria appears in a small swimsuit, and soon after, Poppy arrives looking for Sue. Mia, frustrated, asks them to leave. In the midst of this, Kimihito and Miro accidentally fall into the pool. Miia jumps in to save Kimihito but quickly becomes cold and weak. As her body temperature drops, Kimihito rescues her and pulls her out. Seeing Miia unwell, Miro hugs her, using her body warmth to comfort Miia. Afterward, Kimihito suggests Miia take a warm bath, and Miro joins her. In the bath, Miia apologizes for her earlier behavior, but also vows that she won't give up on marrying Kimihito. Miro reassures her, clarifying that she doesn't want to marry Kimihito, but only seeks a tragic, unrequited love, like the mermaid tales she grew up with. While Miia and Miro chat, Saria and Poppy secretly eavesdrop, leaving Kimihito to wonder what they are talking about. Mia decides to cook for Kimihito, hoping to win his affection, but her poor cooking skills lead to a kitchen disaster. She accidentally starts a fire and burns her hands while trying to grab a hot pot. Embarrassed by the mishap, Mia locks herself in her room, refusing to come out. Kimihito, concerned, tries to calm her down, but in her flustered state, she accidentally breaks the door as she leaps away. That's when Kimihito notices she's shedding her snakeskin, something she's deeply self-conscious about. Unable to shed the skin properly because of her injured hands, Mia is hesitant, but Kimihito offers to help. As he gently removes her old skin, Miia starts venting her frustrations, and Kimihito tries to comfort her. When he touches her sensitive tail by accident, Miia quickly wraps it around his eyes to keep him from seeing her vulnerable state. His touch causes her to let out a loud scream, but Kimihito continues, carefully helping her peel away the rest of the skin. Afterward, Miia insists on cooking for him again as a token of appreciation. However, when Kimihito sees the food, he's repulsed by how awful it looks and smells. The other girls also arrive at the table, and just like Kimihito, are horrified by the sight and odor of Mia's cooking. Later, Papai announces that she's about to lay an egg, which causes immediate chaos. The girls mistakenly assume Kimihito is responsible and prepare to attack him. Poppy quickly clarifies that her egg is not fertilized, explaining that harpies lay eggs periodically, much like chickens. As the household processes this, a strange man shows up at the door, introducing himself as a director working on a documentary about interspecies exchange. He asks if he can interview the girls, but as he films, his questions turn inappropriate. He even touches Surya inappropriately while alone in her room. When he visits Miia, he tries to steal her shed skin, claiming it could lead to important scientific discoveries. Meanwhile, Poppy's egg begins to hatch, and everyone rushes to help her, with Kimihito especially concerned. During the commotion, the director attempts to record the event. Suu, revealing a newfound ability to read minds, exposes the director's sinister intentions, shocking everyone. Furious, the girls rally together, and Kimihito confronts the director. In a moment of quick thinking, Kimihito throws an egg at him, which the man mistakenly believes is Poppy's. As he reels from the shock, Kimihito punches him in the face, knocking him out. Finally, after much discomfort, Popeye successfully lays her large egg. During dinner, Smith joins them, and Kimihito, curious, asks Poppy where she's keeping her egg. Popeye casually replies that it's in the fridge. We then see Mia boiling a large egg, which horrifies Kimihito. Elsewhere, the director returns to his home, where it's revealed that he's been secretly taking care of a spider, like Monster Girl. After hearing about Kimihito, the Spider Girl traps the director in her web and escapes, determined to investigate further. In a manga store, a group of armed orcs causes chaos by taking hostages. Their unusual demand is for more representation of different orc species in manga, as they feel their diversity is being overlooked. The government finds itself in a bind since human authorities are prohibited from harming non-human species, leaving them with no viable options to stop the orcs. In response, the government calls Agent Smith and her team of specialized monster girls. As they prepare for action, one of the team members, Zombina, is discovered by the orcs and seemingly killed. The orcs spot a random girl in the store who resembles a character from their favorite manga. Excited, they capture her as she desperately cries for help from the window. Just when all seems lost, Monako, positioned a mile away, takes aim with her sniper rifle and fires at the store. The orcs are thrown into confusion, unsure of where the attack is coming from since they can't detect any scent. Meanwhile, a giant monster girl, Tyanisha, crashes into the store and quickly takes down two of the orcs. Amid the chaos, Zombina, who had been assumed dead, rises and defeats two more. The last orc, in a panic, grabs a hostage to shield himself. However, the hostage reveals herself as Doppel, an undercover agent who swiftly disarms the orc. Agent Smith then enters, introducing her task force and explaining the new laws governing interactions with monsters. The remaining orcs surrender, but he makes a sarcastic remark about avoiding charges since he surrendered. Smith responds by shooting him with a rubber gun, shutting him down. Back at Kimihito's house, Smith pays a visit. As they chat, Kimihito and the girls notice Smith on TV, showcasing her heroic work during the orc incident, leaving them impressed. Smith later invites the four monster girls to Kimihito's home. Soon after, the team is sent to the director's residence where he's still trapped in a web cocoon. As the agents search the house, they detect the presence of another monster girl. Monako spots the spider-like girl on the roof, but misses her shot. Meanwhile, back at Kimihito's house, Poppy and Sue bring in some food they found outside, unaware that Kimihito had brought it earlier but has mysteriously disappeared. We then see Kimihito held captive by Rachnara, the spider-like girl, trapped in her webs as he tries to escape. At one point, a guard searches the warehouse, forcing Rachnara to lift Kimihito to the ceiling to hide. The guard, creeped out by the eerie atmosphere, leaves, and Rachnara playfully threatens to drop Kimihito, but catches him at the last second. Kimihito asks why she's keeping him and why she's hiding from others. Rachnara explains her past, revealing that her previous host family mistreated her because they were repulsed by her appearance. Eventually, the director offered to take her in, but he turned out to be an awful, sleazy person. Kimihito's kindness and empathy seem to upset her, as she accuses him of pretending to care. When he compliments her legs, she mocks him, calling him a pervert for liking her spider limbs. As they talk, government agents arrive, announcing their intention to arrest the person responsible for hurting the director. Kimihito, believing they're after him for punching the director earlier, tells Rhaenyra to escape while he takes the blame. But instead of fleeing, Rhaenyra laughs, touched by Kimihito's selflessness. Agent Smith then appears, apologizing to Rhaenyra for the hardships she endured due to being placed with an unsuitable family. As compensation, Rhaenyra requests to live in a household where she'll be appreciated for who she is. Smith suggests she move into Kimihito's home, an idea that delights Rhaenyra. The next morning, Kimihito wakes up to his alarm, and while trying to turn it off, accidentally grabs Saria instead. She casually greets him with a good morning, leaving him startled and confused. He asks why she's in bed with him, noting that it's something Miia would do, not her. At breakfast, Kimihito serves everyone a meal, and Rhaenyra teases him, calling him honey. Miia, instantly enraged by Rhaenyra's flirtation, tries to attack her, but Rhaenyra effortlessly restrains her with her webs. Mia's jealousy over her new rival grows, especially since Rhaenyra openly embraces her playful and suggestive nature. Meanwhile, the other monster girls don't seem to mind Rhaenyra joining the household. Saria, on the other hand, clings to Kimihito more than usual, which makes him feel a bit awkward. Later, as Kimihito heads to the bathroom, Miia tries to make fun of Rhaenyra's appearance, but Saria defends her, urging Miia not to be hateful. Inside, Kimihito accidentally makes some noise, which draws the attention of the girls. Saria breaks down the door, only to find Kimihito tied up and blindfolded by Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra claims she was simply in the bathroom when Kimihito came in, but Miia scolds her, while Saria calmly advises Rhaenyra to lock the door next time. That night, Rhaenyra sneaks into Kimihito's room, trapping him in her webs, hoping to sleep with him. Before things escalate, Saria bursts in, demolishing a wall with her sword. She tells Rhaenyra that if she keeps this up, she'll take Kimihito away herself. With Kimihito on her back, Saria runs through the streets, but onlookers begin mocking them. Angry Saria draws her sword, but the crowd reminds her she can't attack humans. As things become tense, Rhaenyra suddenly appears and frightens the crowd, trapping them in her webs. Saria questions her about breaking the law, but Rhaenyra casually replies that there's no issue as long as no one finds out. She then silences Kimihito by taping his mouth with her webs, which leads Saria to slap her, only to quickly apologize afterward. Saria then opens up about her true feelings, admitting she dislikes how Rhaenyra treats Kimihito. Rhaenyra responds calmly, saying it's normal not to like everyone. Hungry and tired, she suggests they head home, and the group agrees. Back at home, Rhaenyra playfully ties up Saria, who accepts it as punishment for attacking her earlier. The next morning, Kimihito falls ill and is forced to stay in bed. The girls all eagerly want to take care of him, but Miia is especially excited to help. However, Agent Smith arrives unexpectedly, claiming that Kimihito might be infected with a new virus that has emerged from human-monster coexistence. Smith insists on taking charge, but also announces that the house must be quarantined, and all the girls must keep their distance from Kimihito. The girls realize that Sue, being a slime, is the least likely to catch or spread any disease. So they decide that Sue will be the one to take care of Kimihito, but first she needs to be taught how to properly care for him. Sue, trying to mimic what she's learned, only makes things worse. At one point, she hugs him too tightly, nearly causing him to drown in her slime body. As Suyu continues her clumsy attempts to care for Kimihito, she uses her tentacles to touch his head and, in doing so, relives the events of the previous day. Sue recalls being caught in the rain and how Kimihito helped her by offering his umbrella, which led to him getting soaked and catching a cold, not the virus. Realizing this, Sue absorbs the cold from Kimihito's body into her own, successfully bringing him back to full health. The other girls rush in, surprised to see that Sue is speaking coherently for the first time. Sue then professes her love for Kimihito, calling him master. Just as things start to settle down, Smith barges in, reminding them that the room is supposed to be under quarantine. Ironically, after all this, Smith herself falls ill. She asks the girls if they'll take care of her, but they all refuse, afraid of catching whatever she has, leaving her to fend for herself. Smith arranges a meeting with Kimihito at a local cafe. Curious, Kimihito asks why they're meeting there, and she casually replies that she wanted to check the place out. Meanwhile, the monster girls, suspicious that Kimihito is on a date, spy on them from outside the cafe, convinced he's cheating on them. They huddle near the window, plotting how to sneak inside. Miro disguises herself as a waitress, but her striking appearance causes a stir among the other customers. Kimihito notices her, though he doesn't recognize her immediately despite feeling something is off. Amid the commotion, Sue enters and starts absorbing moisture from Miro, escalating the situation further. As things get chaotic, Smith and Kimihito decide to leave. Outside, Kimihito spots what he thinks is Popeye, but upon closer inspection, realizes the girl has hands, unlike Popeye, who has wings. It turns out Popeye was spying on them, using Sue hidden under her dress to provide hands. Saria, keeping track of the situation, calls Poppy for updates, but Sue accidentally absorbs the phone into her slimy body, causing it to transfer and vibrate inside Poppy. Startled, Poppy reacts dramatically, drawing everyone's attention. Meanwhile, Smith and Kimihito return to their seats to order ice cream. Saria and Mia, still undercover, serve the ice cream to him, and Kimihito becomes increasingly suspicious, noticing so many familiar faces in one day. The situation worsens when a crowd gathers, not for the ice cream, but because of the girls. Irritated by the noise, Smith decides to leave again. Mia and Saria try to follow, but their clothes get tangled, leading Mia to accidentally tear off part of Saria's outfit. As Mia continues to follow, she encounters Raknera, who uses her tracking skills to locate Kimihito and Smith. Mia attempts to sneak into Kimihito's bedroom through the window, but is abruptly pulled inside by Smith's monster agent team, who are armed and ready. Smith explains the entire situation. Kimihito had received a death threat from someone named D, warning that he would die if he married one of the girls. The cafe meeting was a setup to lure the culprit into making a move, but the plan failed. Seeing no other option, Smith suggests that the girls take turns going on dates with Kimihito to bait the mysterious D. Mia is first, but Mero insists on joining, eager to be Kimihito's mistress. The trio visits a park with aquariums, and Miro, being part fish, is treated like royalty, complete with a red carpet. Miro gives Kimihito and Mia a special card, granting them access to all areas of the park before leaving the two alone. Mia and Kimihito enjoy their time, and as they watch two fish kiss, Mia seizes the moment and leans in to kiss Kimihito. Just as they're about to kiss, Miro interrupts, explaining that the fish are actually both males and are fighting for territory, not showing affection. Mia becomes furious, blaming Mero for ruining the moment. Later, Miro impresses Kimihito with a dolphin show, making Mia even more jealous. As Kimihito focuses on Mero, Mia storms off in frustration. While wandering, Mia bumps into a lizard man who mentions his cold body temperature, which she also feels. He offers to take her out in the sun to warm up. An agent alerts Smith that Mia is leaving with a strange man, and Smith expresses her concern that the culprit might be targeting one of the girls, viewing Kimihito as a rival. On the water, Mia and the lizardmen ride in a small boat, but Mia can't stop talking about Kimihito, which angers the lizardman. His true intentions emerge as he declares his plan to claim Mia for himself and harm anyone who stands in his way. Suddenly, Kimihito arrives in a swan boat and confronts the lizardman. After a brief struggle, the lizardman collapses, but instead of fighting, Kimihito helps him, only to discover that the lizardman is actually a girl. Embarrassed, she reveals her clothes had opened during the fight and admits that she only wanted a friend. When asked if she sent the death threat, she claims she has no idea and quickly flies away. Afterward, Kimihito, noticing Mia shivering from the cold, gives her his shirt. Inside the shirt pocket, Mia finds a small box. Kimihito opens it and places a necklace around her neck, deepening Mia's affection for him. In the end, Smith takes the lizard girl into custody, and it's clear she wasn't the one who sent the threat. The mystery of D remains unsolved. Kimihito takes Poppy and Sue out for a peaceful picnic, accompanied by Zombina, who is there to protect them in case the mysterious attacker shows up. However, things don't go as planned when Zombina reveals herself too soon, eagerly feasting on the food they were preparing. Kimihito scolds her, reminding her that the plan was to stay hidden and catch the attacker by surprise. Suddenly, a monstrous tree, mutated from industrial waste, emerges and attacks the group. Kimihito quickly grabs Poppy and Sue, attempting to flee, but Poppy is snatched from his arms, and shortly after, Kimihito is also captured by the monstrous tree. In the chaos, Kimihito instructs Sue to alert Smith, but Sue is thrown into a toxic pool created by the tree. Deep inside the monstrous tree resides Kii, a beautiful but hostile monster girl with a deep hatred for humans. Kii intends to harm Kimihito. Poppy tries to intervene, but she's too weak to stop Kii, who flings her aside. Poppy lands on something soft. It's Sue, who has grown to an enormous size after absorbing the surrounding water. Sue reveals that Kai's powers have been dangerously amplified by the toxic waste. A fierce battle ensues between Kii and Sue. The only way to defeat Kii is to drain her power. Poppy tries to help, but can't reach Kii, so Kimihito steps in to take over. Just as things are getting intense, Agent Smith arrives and scolds Kii for causing havoc. However, Kimihito defends her, pointing out that the real issue is the improper disposal of industrial waste, not Kii herself. He argues that the people responsible for polluting the environment should be punished, not Kii. Smith admits that Kii wasn't under suspicion of being the one who sent Kimihito the death threat. As it turns out, Kii can't even write. She allows Kii to live peacefully in the forest and promises her that no more waste will be dumped there. Next up is Suria's turn to go on a date with Kimihito. As they walk down the street, Suria, clad in heavy armor, keeps a protective eye on Kimihito, warning anyone who dares to approach him. During the walk, they receive a call from Minako, reminding them that their main goal is to lure out the culprit, but Suria's bulky armor is drawing too much attention. Kimihito suggests she at least remove her helmet, and after some reluctance, Suria agrees. Meanwhile, Minako, keeping watch from a nearby rooftop, is approached by Lilith, a mischievous devil girl who feigns fear before running off. As she retreats, Lilith slyly removes her wings and begins plotting how to deal with Minako. Suria and Kimihito arrive at the park for a picnic, and Suria proudly presents him with a basket of sandwiches she made. When Kimihito takes a bite, he lies, telling her they taste good. However, Raknira, who is lurking nearby, points out that the sandwiches are bland because Suria only eats vegetables, making the food tasteless. Raknira teases that Kimihito is only pretending to like the food to spare Suria's feelings. Hurt by her failed attempt at cooking, Suria walks away feeling disappointed. Alone, she is confronted by Lilith, who hypnotizes her, awakening Suria's hidden desires. Under Lilith's influence, Saria pins Kimihito down, and he starts to feel tempted as well. Lilith watches from the bushes, entertained by the chaos she's caused. However, a wild bear suddenly appears behind Lilith, adding to the chaos. Kimihito quickly uses his coat to distract the bear, luring it toward a tree. In the nick of time, Suria snaps out of her trance and knocks the bear out with a log. Frustrated with herself, she laments her uselessness, wanting to be more helpful to Kimihito. He reassures her, hopping onto her back and telling her that she's always needed. Suria, feeling appreciated, carries Kimihito back home. Meanwhile, Raknira, furious with Lilith for her troublemaking, captures her and seeks revenge. Lilith taunts Raknira, but Raknira decides to teach her a lesson with some creative punishment. Back at home, Suria, inspired by her earlier reflection, prepares several dishes using only salads and greens, reflecting her newfound enlightenment after her encounter with Lilith. However, the other girls, craving something heartier, pass the food on to Sue, who can consume anything edible. Meanwhile, Raknira, true to her word, has Lilith tied up and is punishing her for the chaos she caused. Tayanisha takes Kimihito to a cafe where the other monster agents are gathered, and they show him another mysterious letter. The note reads like a threatening love letter, which confuses Kimihito. The agents, Tayanisha, Zombina, and Monako, then reveal their desire to go on dates with him. Kimihito, puzzled, asks why he's there. The agents explain that it's their day off, and they want him to spoil them, just like he does with his own girls. This had made them curious to experience it for themselves. Tayanisha is the first to go on a date. They visit a clothing store, but things take a turn when Tayanisha gets stuck in a dress due to her love for squatting, which has made her larger. Kimihito offers to help by sewing an extension onto the dress, which delights her. She's deeply touched by his sewing skills and shows her appreciation with a warm, strong hug. Next is Zombina, who takes Kimihito to the cinema to watch a zombie horror movie. During their walk, Zombina's hand falls off as her body is stitched together. Kimihito sews it back on in a dressing room, impressing her. She playfully teases him, appreciating that he didn't find her appearance gross. Zombina then removes some stitches from one of her melons and cheekily asks him to sew it back on, which Kimihito unexpectedly enjoys, prompting more teasing from her. Monako is the final agent to go on a date, but she feels tense and awkward, as she dislikes crowded places due to her insecurity about having only one eye. She asks Kimihito if they can go somewhere more private, and they sit on a bench, enjoying a quiet drink together. Monako confides in him about how people are often afraid of her because of her single eye, making it hard for them to look at her face. However, when she notices that Kimihito looks her in the eye without hesitation, she realizes he's genuine and not like others. Suddenly, a suspicious figure runs past them, and the other agents quickly appear to capture her. It turns out to be Doppel, who was spying on the group. Doppel reveals that Smith herself wrote the first death letter, and she had been helping with the plan. The letter's true purpose was to push Kimihito toward marrying one of the monster girls. As they walk, the agents discuss how Kimihito is different from most humans, genuinely caring about the monster girls. Later that night, Kimihito encounters another mysterious monster girl, this time a headless one. He arrives home with the headless girl, which terrifies Mia and the others. They ask how he found her, and Kimihito explains that he stumbled upon her while she had lost her head, so he couldn't just leave her alone. Determined to reunite the headless girl with her missing head, Kimihito sets off on a search with the other girls. Sue and Rhaenyra stay behind to look after the girl's body. After some eerie moments, Maya finds the head. As Kimihito is about to retrieve it, the head starts talking, thanking him for caring for her body. Though initially spooky, the head then pleads with Kimihito to take her back to her body. As they make their way back, Kimihito has to hide the head from passing officers, while her body back at home reacts to each touch. Upon returning home, they successfully reattach the head to the body. The new monster girl introduces herself as Lala, claiming to be a soul reaper. She then shocks everyone by revealing that she sent the second death letter. Lala announces that she's a goddess who has come because someone is about to die, and it's her duty to take their soul. To everyone's surprise, Layla declares that the person fated to die is none other than Kimihito himself. Before Lala can take any action, Rhaenyra traps her in her web, and the other girls rally together to protect Kimihito. Puppy quickly picks up Kimihito and flies away, but due to her poor vision at night, she accidentally crashes. Fortunately, Kimihito lands safely on Sue. Saria takes over, whisking Kimihito away on a non-stop ride to a safe place. As they travel, Saria, in a dreamy state, begins narrating a love story, but while she's distracted, Kimihito accidentally falls off her back and tumbles to the ground. At this point, Lala tracks them down again. Mero pulls Kimihito into a river, revealing her desire to share an intimate moment with him, hoping to experience a tragic love story before his supposed death. She pushes him underwater, away from prying eyes, but just as things get tense, Mia appears and rescues Kimihito, bringing him back to the surface. Rhaenyra, seeing no alternative, grimly suggests that perhaps they should end Kimihito's life quickly to spare him unnecessary suffering. Mia, however, refuses, stating that if Kimihito dies, a part of her dies as well. Kimihito finally wakes up and, fed up with the entire situation, gets up and walks toward the road. He declares that no one should believe Lala's claim that he's destined to die, stating he won't die just because someone says so. Boldly, he tells Maya that he'll marry her once he returns. As Kimihito confidently strides onto the road, a truck approaches him, but it turns out to be just a small toy truck. He laughs, assuring everyone that they shouldn't believe Layla's story about his supposed death. Back at home, Smith arrives to clear up the situation. She reveals that Lala's entire story about Kimihito's impending death is simply a product of her overactive imagination. As for the threatening letter, Lala had sent it out of concern for Kimihito, thinking that he had faced so many dangers that it was only a matter of time before his luck ran out. She believed she was doing him a favor by ending his misery. With nowhere else to go, Lala asks if she can live with Kimihito, and Smith quickly agrees, as it means less work for her. Later, Kimihito becomes worried about their financial situation, realizing they are in significant debt due to the high costs of feeding all the monster girls. He decides to head to the market to figure things out. At the market, Miro impresses a fish vendor, who gives them one of their best fish for free. Saria also receives a generous amount of free vegetables from a shop, and it seems the local vendors are more than happy to give the girls free food. Sue then reveals to Kimihito that she can eat anything edible, so there's no need to buy special food for her. However, Kimihito insists that they should all eat the same food as a family. Sue leads him to the forest, where they find Ki, who offers them food from the forest. As they gather ingredients, Sue helps Kimihito identify which plants are poisonous and which are safe. However, on their way back home, Sue accidentally transforms into a poisonous form, turning purple. Upon returning home, Kimihito prepares a feast using the food they gathered, thankful that they'll have enough to eat for a while. Just as they sit down to enjoy the meal, Smith and her team suddenly arrive, and Kimihito ends up cooking for everyone. Unfortunately, the food they worked so hard to gather is quickly devoured. Seeing Kimihito's frustration, Smith asks why he's upset. Sue explains that they don't have enough money to keep buying food. Hearing this, Smith nonchalantly reveals that all host families are entitled to receive essential food items for free. Shocked and angry that he hadn't known this sooner, Kimihito buries his face in Sue's body in frustration.
If you like this anime recap, please make sure to subscribe for more episodes, and make sure to check out our brand new anime recaps.